beat badly. Badly. He was so big. He's so black, that boy.
Welcome to the Dark Times channel. I want to go ahead and take a second to chime in on a story that broke a few weeks back, and it's going to be involving a San Antonio Spurs player by the name of Josh Primo, or excuse me, a former San Antonio Spurs player by the name of Josh Primo. And some allegations were brought against him by a former psychologist, a team psychologist of the San Antonio Spurs. And so allegedly, during some of these therapy sessions and some of these counseling sessions, the former guard Josh Primo was exposing himself. Not once, not twice. Josh Primo of the San Antonio Spurs exposed himself allegedly 9 times.
9 times.
9 times?
9 times.
I could see if she said he was 9 inches. That sounds believable.
You know, I got the big one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's just something to me that this definitely doesn't add up. But as we all know, timing is everything. And so it seems like almost every 6 months now, we see a black male public figure that's going to be facing some sort of indecent or improper behavior charges that are going to be levied against him. And one of the things that people really don't realize is that these athletes are used for more than just entertainment, especially when these modern day athletes are making the kind of money that they're making. It's never just going to be one purpose. They're always going to try to get the most bang for their bucks. No pun intended. And so one of the other ways how they use these modern day athletes is they use them as a proxy for black male behavior. If the multi-million-dollar Negro can be seen as this mindless beast that just can't control his sexual urges and his loins, you better believe that the modern individual is going to associate that and is going to equate that with the general black male population. And it's not even going to be a conscious thing. It's going to be a subconscious thing, because as we all know, the subconscious mind is going to take everything at face value. So it's definitely far more powerful than our conscious minds. And so I'm not a sports psychologist or a therapist or anything like that, but on the first occasion or the first encounter that a patient decides to expose themselves to me, I'm going to the organization and I'm saying, you know what, this is not for me. This patient needs a different kind of therapist or a different kind of psychologist, someone who's more equipped to deal with the issues that he may be going through. He exposed himself to me and I'm going to go ahead and remove myself. You guys can go ahead and get somebody else in here to deal with him. And why these teams would choose to hire a white female sports psychologist is beyond me. You're talking about some of the best athletes in the world, not just in the United States. You're talking about some of the best athletes in the world. And on top of that, the majority of the people that these psychologists and therapists are going to be dealing with on a daily basis are black males. And so I highly doubt a middle-aged white woman is going to have any idea on how to deal with the problems of the black male, or is going to have any insight into the black male experience. But that's definitely another topic for another day. And so, like I said, the timing of this is highly suspect. And so to top it off, here's the topper right here. She went out and got the same lawyer as the Deshaun Watson accusers. She went out and got Tony Busby.
Okay, we ready? Are we live streaming this?
Yes.
All right.
This is the same attorney that's representing all 22 or 23, I think it is now, of Deshaun Watson's accusers. And I believe all but 1 or 2 got $1 million settlements. And this lady right here, just looking at her, she couldn't say there was any kind of romantic relationship or she was pursued. She couldn't go that route. Just looking at her, nobody would believe that. Not even God would believe that. And so she had to go the Carolyn Bryant route. She had to say, he whistled at me. Or in this case, he exposed himself to me, allegedly. I feel for him on this one if he is indeed, like he says, in fact, innocent. I definitely feel for him, because it's not like he put himself in a situation like some of these other athletes will find themselves chasing after certain kinds of women and find themselves in he said, she said situations. This is not one of those situations. This is not that, for sure. This is a man that was in a counseling session or a therapy session, and that's supposed to be a safe place. If you can't act crazy there, if indeed he did act crazy and he did expose himself, if you can't act crazy in front of a trained psychologist or a trained therapist, I don't know what else you do. Let's just take this counselor's word for a second. Let's say he did expose himself 9 times. Let's say he did all that. You got a 19-year-old young man who's exposing himself over and over and over and over again to you, and you don't bring in help as a trained therapist and a trained psychologist. Your first instinct is to run and tell the GM of the San Antonio Spurs organization. I thought the psychologist or the therapist was supposed to be there to help with mental illness, and uncontrollably exposing yourself to somebody is indeed a mental illness. So at the very least, if indeed this did happen, like I said, if, and that's a very big if to me, if this did happen and it did go down the way she said it went down, at the very least, she should have got somebody else in there, somebody that has a little more knowledge and how to treat that situation. So that's why I said this story just definitely doesn't add up on a lot of different levels. It doesn't add up. And I'm not going to bother playing a press conference. You guys know how that goes. Y'all have heard them before. She said she was physically traumatized, but for whatever reason, she chose to keep coming back to the sum of 9 times. If someone did something that scarred you emotionally and physically to that level, you wouldn't come back, let alone 9 times. And it's not like the San Antonio Spurs said that she had to work with Josh Primo. It's not like an ultimatum was given where she was going to be fired if she refused to treat somebody who was exposing themselves to her. And so to me, this is theater right here. Like I said, every 6 months, or maybe even sooner at this point, it seems like there's a black male public figure that's right in the spotlight for some sort of kind of deviant behavior. And it definitely seems like there's no let up and there's no end in sight when it comes to these he said, she said allegations levied against black males. But this one hits a little different because, like I said, it's not like Josh Primo put himself in a situation where he was alone with a certain kind of individual or a certain kind of female. He didn't go to any kind of massage parlors, or it wasn't a one-night stand kind of situation. He was simply going to his team doctor or his team therapist. That should be one of the safest spaces and one of the safest places for a young black male. And so I hope this doesn't open up the proverbial floodgates or anything like that, because I don't know what you do. I don't know how you defend this. I don't know, especially if you're a young black male with money. If this he said, she said case can get settled and the alleged victim can get paid with zero evidence and no physical contact whatsoever, just the word of the alleged victim saying she saw something, I guess the only thing they could really do is start countersuing some of these alleged victims. But you can tell there's definitely some sort of deals being made to make sure that these athletes don't turn around and countersue. That wouldn't be a good look to see all of these alleged accusers to start giving that money right back. That wouldn't be a good look, because then we would be getting back into public perception, and you can never have the perception that the white woman is lying, especially when it comes to a he said, she said with a white woman and a black male, especially as it pertains to that, because behind closed doors, what they're being told is that, hey, if you just settle this or you keep this quiet and get this over with quickly, given a year or two, your career will be back on track. And we'll get you a bigger contract. You'll get a better deal. But you want to handle this quietly. You don't want to do it publicly. It won't be a good look for you. That's what they're told. And it's hard to blame a lot of these athletes before going in a different direction, or a different direction than what they usually go in, which is to go ahead and handle it quietly and not countersue and just keep your head down. It's hard to blame them. You know, being 19 years old as Josh Primo is, as he sees it, he's got his whole life ahead of him. He's got at least 12 years of making multi-millions of dollars in the NBA. And so I'm sure everybody around him, including family, friends, and his lawyers, are telling him to do what he's told to do and to keep his head down, not say anything, not cause any trouble. And in a year or two, you'll be back with another team. But the damage is already done as it pertains to the psyche of the masses. Today or last week, it was Josh Primo. Next week or tomorrow, it'll be somebody else. And it'll be the same playbook. And so I'm going to go ahead and end it there. And please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And so as you guys already know, certain channels do not get promoted as much as others. So definitely like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace and chaos.